Parramatta Eels are staring down the barrel of 38-year premiership drought, and after missing the finals last year, Captain Clint Gutherson is more than aware they need to hit the ground running.
We didn't start the way we wanted to, and we were on the back foot straight away, and it's hard to be you when you're chasing, and we want to go out there and be the team we want to be from the first minute. And the 17 to 18 that we've got and the squad that we've got right now is probably the best it's been in a couple of years, and we've got to make sure we use it. Hopefully we can see that on Saturday, and that sets us off for the year.
The Parramatta Eels yet again under the spotlight, 38 years without a premiership, and with the team that they have this year and they've had the past few seasons, they haven't delivered. What do we expect from Parramatta this year?
Well, you've got to expect a vast improvement. Look, Parramatta are one of the big clubs. They're traditionally one of the big clubs, and to go 38 years without a premiership. I remember when Parramatta, I'm old enough to remember Parramatta's first premiership, and back then, I wasn't obviously around when the club first came in, but the big celebration was how long it had taken to get to that first premiership. Well, that took 34 years. It's now 38 years since their last premiership. So this drought's even longer. There's a lot of Parramatta fans who've never even seen a Parramatta premiership. So Parramatta they've got close a couple of times, but the good clubs, the big clubs, they get through, they break through for at least one of them.
Well, they got to the grand final in 22.
Yeah, and went backwards since.
And they've gone backwards since. So where are they at as a team?
I think there's reasons why they went backwards, and they're reasons, not excuses. But they had a shocking run with suspensions and injuries last year. They also made some recruitment blunders, which have been well documented. But you look at their side on paper now, this team that'll play Canterbury over the course of the weekend, and I think this team is as good a chance as any Para team that we've seen under Brad Arthur's tenure at the club. Of doing what Jack Gibson did all those years back in 1981 and ding dong, the witch is dead. They can end the curse.
I don't have them in my 8, let alone competing for a premiership.
I've always said you're a bad judge. That just reaffirms it.
Why me?
Well, I think with Parramatta, when they were going so well in 21 and 22, you touched on it a little bit, Hoops, there, that they had a dream run, and particularly in 22 with injuries and suspensions. All their big guns played 20-plus games, and it was almost impossible to replicate, and we saw the back end of that last year, what happened there. And I think as soon as Parramatta don't have, they're built on that power game, right? As soon as they don't have a power game, I don't think their game's evolved in 5 or 10 years. And once teams work that out, they don't have anywhere to go to. They don't play off the cuff. They've got a lot of money in their 1, 6 and 7. But as soon as those forwards aren't going forward, I think they're very one-dimensional.
You make a fair call, but it's a huge call to say that they won't make the 8 with the team that they've got. Like, they've got a pretty impressive side.
And it's going to be an intriguing story. I think Parramatta and South Sydney are the two big stories
So you think South will miss the 8 too?
No, I've got South in my 8. But I think either of those sides, if they don't make the 8, I don't think the coach is there next year.
When you talk about the power game, though, Mick, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Junior Baller, you don't consider them frontline prop forwards?
No, they're good.
Who can
they're
set
good.
the platform.
They're good. But my concern is Junior, particularly last year, I thought he was off the pace. I thought he was off the ball, off the back of a World Cup. I don't think he replicated the form that saw him be one of the premier props in the game. And we see these big guys, once they get into their late 20s, can they kick again? That's my question. Have these guys peaked, or do they have another gear in them? If they don't have another gear in them, they won't make the 8.
They've got Joe Offengowie on the bench. They've got Ryan Madison on the bench. You just mentioned it with their pack that they've got Junior Paulo and also Regan Campbell-Gillard, Bryce Cartwright. Surely, though, that team with that forward pack can get them, with the halves they've got and the outside backs, to the finals at the very least. I'm
with you, Braith. Look, I think when you go over those injuries and suspensions, Campbell-Gillard missed 9 games, a combination of both. Dylan Brown was suspended for 7 games for an off-field incident. Sean Lane missed 14 games, right? So the left edge, essentially, is a brand new thing this season in that it'll be Lane, it'll be Brown. I think those two players in combination provided a lot of strike when they went on that run to the grand final. And I also think that they're senior key position players. You talk about Mitchell Moses, you talk about Clint Gutherson. They're on an upward trajectory. Like, they're coming into the real sweet spots of their careers. So I certainly don't have them missing the 8. I think they can be a top 4
Brown as well
team.
to have his best year, because he showed glimpses. He does owe them, missing through suspension last year at a critical time, mind you. He's got the potential to be anything. I mean, at his best. Player. He's a class player. And with the pre-season he's had, and probably wanting to repay his team and his fans, you'd think he'd have a big year.
Well, I'm sure he's thinking that. Look,
But he's also got the potential to do it.
he has got the potential. I think Dylan Brown's a potential superstar. 3 or 4 years, he quite easily I can see him being the best half 5'8" in the game. He's that good. The only one, if Cleary's still around, the only one in the frame is still Cleary. He's that good. He's just, but because he's a young kid, he is still on that upward trajectory. But Parramatta have got to click like this. Yeah, for years we've been talking about the Parramatta premiership window, and a couple of years ago when they got the grand final, everyone thought this is the time it all come together. The poor old Parramatta players who used to play there, they have this eternal flame that every year they think this is their year. And again, they think this is a year. But Parramatta have got to just put it into action. There's got to be pressure on Brad Arthur. I think Brad Arthur's a quality coach. I think he's done a tremendous job at Parramatta. But he's got to kick him back again, because if he's anywhere near where he was last year, then he's going to start feeling the belly to the flame a little bit.
You mentioned Brad Arthur. Now, we're going to switch focus here from the players to the coach, and there it is, the Eels premiership drought. Brad Arthur there, 10 seasons, 1 grand final, no premierships. You can see there, he's the same as Brian Smith, who had 10 seasons, no premiership, but Brian Smith had more finals appearances than Brad. Now, this isn't a great record.
Well, what it shows, Braith, is Parramatta Club that traditionally don't have long-standing coaches. Like for Brad Arthur to be now equaling Brian Smith as the longest-standing coach at the time, when Jack Gibson was only there for 3 seasons. Money was there for 6 years, the next longest-serving coach. And at the time, that was a long time for John Maney to be there for 6 seasons. Brian Smith couldn't get him over the hill, and Parramatta had to look in a different direction in the end. And that's the reality of Brad Arthur. If Brad Arthur gets there this year and halfway through the year the Eels are batting 50-50, well, that's going to be a problem for him, because that's going to start making the noise around the club.
What's going to keep his job?
He's got to start strong. He's got to stay strong.
No, but what's the result?
They've got to finish top 4.
Because you look at that
Guaranteed they've got to finish top 4.
Aside from Dylan Brown, all the key players are ageing. So, and Brad Arthur's been their coach basically their whole career. So for mine, if they're not pushing, like you guys all think they're a top 4 side, if they're not pushing...
I don't think they're a top 4 team.
Top 8?
Top 8,
right.
yes.
So if they're not pushing with this core players that they've invested heavily in with the same coach, well, something's got to give. And for mine, if they don't make the 8, then I can't see Brad being there beyond this year.
The other issue, though, is I don't think Brad has full control over some of the decisions that get made there. Which is
not around recruitment.
Exactly, which is an issue.
So why not?
Because
That's just the way the club wanted to set it up and wanted to do business. They got
After
pinched for the salary cap.
Yeah, but does that hurt him as a coach? Like
Yes,
that,
it
surely
does.
that makes it
Oh, I
harder.
think it
for him.
has. I think
If
it
you're the head
has.
coach, they're all the best coaches in our game are surely making decisions at what type of players they want.
I don't
in the
reckon
club.
he's got the
Because-
full roster he wants.
But it's not only as a coach. It's not only their ability. A lot of it's based around the culture and what type of person they are, or if they fit into the system in which the coach wants them to play.
That's where I think Brad's got reason to claim some understanding from the club. And some of the decisions that get made at the club are not Brad's decisions. Brad's got to wear them. Brad's got to wear the results.
But if you're going to live and die by them, I believe that you should be the ones making the
so
decisions.
does Brad, but Parramatta don't allow him to do that.
That's
If we're
interesting.
talking leeway, they've given him leeway by not making the 8 last year.
That's a fair call too. I mean, 10 years without a premiership, they've been pretty patient.
They've
But
been
in saying
patient,
that,
and there was a lot of mess.
He took over when they were last.
There was a lot of mess that he inherited.
No, he hasn't done a hopeless
No one's
job.
saying he's done a hopeless job whatsoever. I think he's done a good job for him.
And no one's won a comp in 38 years, so he's not alone. You know, it's been a very long time. What's the go with Wayne Bennett linked to the Eels? Is there any truth to this at all?
Went around a month ago, or roughly a month ago, that Wayne was interested in the Parramatta general manager job. Not a skerrick if it was true.
None of
Okay.
it.
Well, when has Wayne ever shown any interest in being the general manager of any football club?
I don't know.
He has continually knocked it back. He's continually said he's not interested in that job. He was offered a lifetime job there at the Broncos doing exactly that role, and he said no to it. He's always said he wants to be a coach. Wayne wants to be a coach. That said, if there's a sniff of an opportunity at Parramatta for next year, Wayne's off this year. This is his final season at the Dolphins. If there's a chance he could end up at Parramatta, I think his name will get thrown in the ring.
Well, both, we've all been around long enough to know how the dark arts of rugby league works. I don't think anyone at Parramatta has picked the phone up to Wayne and said, would you be interested in coming at coaching at our joint beyond this season when you finish at the
I agree.
Dolphins? But I wouldn't put it beyond the realms of possibility whatsoever. And I've had quite a few people suggest to me that others around the game, other figures around the game, have been in touch with the Eels, just to let them know that if they want to go in a different direction and they don't start fast, and they need to start fast, to Mick's point from earlier, they need to start fast, bank early wins, put themselves in a good position.
But where did this come from then? And
because I think,
and who said
to
it?
Hoops' point, I think what happens is Wayne doesn't have a manager, okay, as such.
He manages himself.
He manages himself, but what he does do is when it's time to look for a new deal, the managers all come bidding to him.
I got you.
And they'll say, if I get you a start at the Dolphins, or I get you a start at South, or I get you a start at Newcastle, how about, and Wayne will pay them basically a finder's fee. If they get, so I think someone has made a call to Parramatta, Bennett's interested. And look, I'm surprised 5 managers haven't made the phone call.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, they've made the phone call. They're trying to be the first manager on the phone to Parramatta. So if it does come to fruition, there's every chance it won't. But if it does, then the managers, God bless their cotton socks,
They wouldn't
are
do
sitting
that.
there at the front of the line waiting for their 6%.
They wouldn't be after an earn.
Oh, God, Braith, come on.
Come off it.
Come on.
But if you look at the way the Parramatta's roster is, and we speak about the experienced players, we speak about the premiership windows, if things do fall out of favour with Brad, Wayne is actually the perfect person for that job.
The Parramatta are right for Wayne. That's the other part
Perfect.
to it.
I think that's the perfect job for him to be parachuted into.
I agree.
If it does not.
If it doesn't happen,
Yeah.
and he doesn't go to Parramatta, which apparently doesn't look like happening.
No,
Well, no, it's going to depend on results.
It's just going to depend
He won't be as a
on
general manager of football.
Just say he doesn't go to Parramatta. Where does he land? Wayne.
The two intriguing ones.
Depends where else it goes, but I know where you're going.
Parramatta and South are the two intriguing ones for me.
South.
If things don't work
So
out,
you
for-
mentioned Parramatta and South at the start
South
of the
should
show.
make the 8.
So you think he's sitting there waiting,
I don't
one
think
out,
he's-
one back?
I don't
He's
think
not
he's
waiting.
sitting there.
He's just waiting for one of those teams to just.
Well, if we look at based on results last year from two sides that everyone thinks should be in the top 8, if they're not in the top 8 next year, Jason Demetriou and Brad Arthur aren't the coaches of their respective clubs.
Last year, Braith, you had the reigning the reigning grand finals failed to make the 8, and you had the competition favourites failed to make the 8. So both those coaches have to be under pressure this year
JD's just
to not
got
repeat.
re-signed. He just got re-signed.
Oh, yeah,
Brad
well,
Arthur's
we all know
signed-
contracts
Brad
stick in
Arthur's signed
rugby
for
league.
this year and next year as well, in the same respect. So, but you know how it works, Braith.
I know how it works.
Yeah, it's
I'm
totally results driven.
I was just saying, he just got re-signed.
They'd be the two ones for me.
Okay.
I think it makes sense, because Wayne does do a good job of coming in and troubleshooting your club.
Would he want to come back to
What-
Sydney? Would Wayne want to come back to Sydney?
Well, as
I know
opposed to
he's
sitting
very
on his
happy.
farm at
Well, I know he's very
Toowoomba?
happy with his life up there in Queensland.
Of course he would. He will coach till he dies. He will coach till he dies. He's made no statement about ever retiring. He said he wants to continue coaching. He's clearly still getting results.
Yeah.
The job he did last year with the Dolphins was magnificent.
Outstanding.
He still clearly knows what he's doing. He's been able to adjust on the way through, where some coaches start to get left behind in the game and suddenly they're not up to it. Even Jack Gibson, the greatest coach of all, went through and got the game left him behind, and in the end Jack was coach of the game that was no longer being played. But Wayne's been able to transition because he's got this modern formula now, where right now he's got Christian Wolf at the club. Before that he had Jason Demetriou. He gets the next great young coach coming through who comes in and does a lot of the X's and O's and all that sort of business. And Wayne simply does what Wayne does. And Wayne will do that wherever he goes next. And he'll continue to coach wherever he goes next.
And more to your point, Kent, we saw him apply for the Kiwis job. So he wants to be part of it. He wants to be a head coach, and the expansion sides are too far away for that to happen. You know, he may have a role with them,
can't
but
wait for him.
it's
Yeah.
too far away for a bloke of Wayne's age, with all due respect, to be waiting for 26, 27 potentially for an expansion team.
A lot of questions.